big old spaniel came and made our house his home. Came from nowhere. And with his sad eyes and sad face, we decided to call him Lonesome. Now, Lonesome became just as loyal and true a friend as Leslie and I were with each other. I remember our school bus would come over the hill, and every day without fail, Leslie and Lonesome would sit on the steps next to the house and wait for the bus. And when the bus came to the bottom, they would both come running down to greet you every day, unless it was raining or snowing. And on those days, the bus would come to a stop. I would get out of the bus and look up to the house, and without fail, Leslie would be standing at the window looking out. And I would see him momentarily, just a smile, and then he would disappear. And I knew he'd be running to the front door, trying to meet me there as I ran up the driveway. One cold November day, the bus came over the hill as usual, came over the crest, and I, like every other day, scooted next to the window and pressed my head against the cold, vibrating glass of the bus, looking out over the hill down the valley where our home sat, expecting to see my brother. He wasn't there. The bus came to a stop. I got out, looked up into the window, expecting to see him there. And he wasn't there. Lonesome still sat on the sidewalk. When he saw me, he got up and trotted down the road by himself. I knew something was terribly wrong. Walked up to the house and walked in to find Leslie wasn't there. That was November 22nd. And they had taken Leslie to Pittsburgh Children's Hospital because of headaches that he was having. The house seemed incredibly and unbearably empty without him there. I looked at the chair and remembered the first headache that I remember him having. It was on Halloween. I was still dressed in my tiger costume, sitting next to the chair, sorting candies that we had gotten that evening, while Leslie sat on my mother's lap, and she tried to soothe him from his headaches. And I remember her singing, "My headache looks up to thee." Oh, Mommy, my head hurts so bad. December 22nd, day of my birthday, my little brother, Leslie, my very best friend, died. It seemed that day, that morning, that the sun set early and let darkness just fill the earth. The days that followed, that should have been for planning birthday parties, was instead agonizing planning for funeral arrangements. The days that should have been hours going last-minute shopping for Christmas was filled with long hours in a funeral home. And the long lines that we would be expecting to spend in stores buying Christmas gifts were spent in lines talking with neighbors and friends who were sharing our grief. Then came, a few days later, Christmas Eve. We all came home from the funeral and gathered in the living room I looked at my brothers and sisters. I could tell that they had heard something too. And with that confirmation of each other, it was as though someone had shot a starting rifle or starting pistol, and we all took up off the chair, all running to the front door because there were definitely jingle bells being outside our front door. Now, I don't know what my brothers and sisters thought they were going to see when they got to that front door. But I knew in my heart that when we opened that door, there would be a sleigh with 8 tiny reindeer and a little old man in the sleigh with a red outfit and white beard. And I was excited. We opened the large wooden kitchen door, and each one took a window, and with warm breath and with their hands made little peepholes through the frosted window panes. And we looked out to see a sleigh. A real sleigh. Now, it wasn't drawn by a reindeer, but instead by an old white mare that used to pasture in the field near our house. And the driver wasn't necessarily Santa, but it was a farmer who we had grown to love. Now, his eyes did twinkle like the stars, and in that Pennsylvania cold night, his cheeks were rosy, and his nose was like a cherry. And all around him, like little helpers, were our neighbors, busily getting food and gifts out of the sleigh that he was driving. It was wonderful. The house was filled with energy. The children were all wide-eyed and excited as they were opening packages. The men were standing around like an athletic event, and they were spectators simply cheering us on. And the women were all in the kitchen, busily making a holiday meal. 2 of the women in the kitchen hadn't spoken for years and were out of a bitter dispute. And now they were standing side by side, one with the other, talking and laughing, which would initial and event that would make them friends forever from that point. From the darkest hours, God has a tendency to be there for us. Just like He did so many years ago in a dark manger, a dark corner, in the stillness of the night, when a baby's cry cut through the silence, and the star of Bethlehem shines so bright in the sky that it outshines all the other stars. God has a way of giving us wonderful gifts in times of darkness, just as He did